Hello guys, welcome back to another video. I know it's been a couple weeks since my last one, the last one being the Halloween ice cream cone. I really hope you guys liked that drawing because I know I did. This drawing is also included on that sheet and was actually the first one that I did. However, this one just didn't feel Halloween-y enough to post on Halloween because the other one was obviously far more Halloween-y than this. If you guys haven't seen the thumbnail already, then you'll know that this is kind of another one of my alien-like, organic, goopy, gutty, I don't even know what kind of things this is. I like to call it bio-organic, but to each their own, really. It's just some alien looking thing and I really enjoy them. I really wanted to make a bigger one because the last one turned out so perfectly in my eyes, but in all honesty, I don't particularly love this one. I know it's gonna happen sometimes when you're drawing. You're not gonna be in love with every single design you make. I believe I went a little too hard on the green and too dark. Now this is definitely not my favorite shade of green, which is crazy because green is my favorite color, so I should love all shades of green, but I don't know, it's just a very weird leafy green, so it's not, I like more of a toxic green or an olive green. Not too much of a cool green, if you guys know what I'm putting down. But me complaining is definitely not the main focus of this video. The main focus of this video is what you need to do in order to get a tattoo apprenticeship. It's kind of tough right now to find tattoo apprenticeships. Tattooing has really become the cool thing these days, and there's tons and tons and tons of tattoo artists out there. That being said, it's going to be harder to find a tattoo apprenticeship. But if you really put the work into your art and, finding a style or perfecting it in a way, the chances of finding an actual apprenticeship is going to be a hell of a lot easier. And the purpose of this video is to give you the straightforward, hard truths of getting an apprenticeship and how difficult it can really be. Now, step number one is finding your niche. This isn't mandatory because a lot of the time it will come at different parts of our apprenticeships or tattoo journeys, so don't stress on this too much. But if you can find your niche or your style very early on before you even apply to studios, then you'll have an easier time getting in. Lots of studios will want to see people doing different styles of work compared to what they already have in the studio because it brings in a whole different group of clientele and it just helps avoid you walking on toes of other artists that are already in the studio doing the same style. The other purpose of finding your own style is so that you can stand out compared to the other artists in your town. Much like my style and my work, I don't see anybody around my city that has the exact same look as me, so I stand out, which can make me a bit more memorable to potential clients searching around town for a new artist. Now, step number two backs off of the last point that I made, which is make yourself appealing to clients. You need to strive to make yourself look better than the other tattoo artists that are in the industry right now because we have an influx of fresh new tattoo babies, and the last thing you want is to get lost in the crowd of all these newbies. So you need to make yourself stand out to both customers and tattoo shops because one of the biggest struggles of the industry right now is actually that there are a lot of mediocre tattoo artists that are charging very cheap prices, thus taking away from the artists that have been perfecting their craft for many years or decades. And it's starting to hurt the industry in a way that clients are out there filling up with mediocre tattoos and then regretting it, or even sometimes losing trust within the industry or other artists amongst it and being left with poopy tattoos, as I like to say. Now, obviously, you're not going to be amazing at tattooing right off the bat. That's just how it is. I for sure wasn't amazing at even drawing right off the bat, specifically drawing tattoo designs. But you still need to make a point of putting in the hard work to try and perfect your craft before even coming into the industry because, like I said already, there's so many mediocre tattoo artists out here that aren't joining the community for the right purposes, and that's one of the big reasons why the community is, in a way, very broken. Now, there's no right or wrong way to draw. There really isn't. You can create your own look and your own style. I've seen it many times throughout my years in the industry, but there is an incorrect way to tattoo, and we are putting images on people's bodies that are permanent. And in some cases, people can mess up to a degree where they can't get it fixed or covered up, and then they have to go through the excruciating process of getting laser removal which is very expensive as well, and then having to go and get tattooed on top of that, it's just costing people a lot of money and a lot of time, because laser takes so much time to get it finished. So as cool as it sounds, this is definitely not a job that you can take lightly, because we are altering people's bodies for the rest of their life. And people are giving us a huge level of trust to do that for them. Now, the biggest and most important tip I can give is don't join the tattooing industry for the money. And I believe this is one of the biggest reasons why the industry seems so appealing to people, because it seems easy when that is the complete opposite. There are many hours that I am working unpaid at home than I am compared to working in the studio. I typically only work, 2 to 4 hours a day on average, which is my choice, and that's just what works with my lifestyle at the moment. But unless you're willing to put in those 8 to 10 hour days every single day, then you probably won't see those big paychecks by the end of the month that people gloat about so often, which also relates to perfecting your craft and making sure you are doing good designs. There are lots and lots and lots of times where you are spent sitting at home hunched over the computer or iPad just drawing and drawing and drawing. So that's why we charge so much, is to cover all those unpaid hours that we are working at home in our free time, when we, essentially should be hanging out with our families if we have them. But yes, if you want to see those big paychecks at the end of the day, you need to make sure you stand out to the crowd and perfect your work. You need to make sure it's clean. So essentially, hard work equals big bucks. Step or tip number 4 is about staying humble. The number one way to ruin all your chances of staying in the industry or being in it for a very long time is having a huge ego. Now, there's a difference between knowing you're good at art and being realistic. You can know that you're doing good at art, but are you the best person out there doing it? That's kind of the question you need to ask yourself many times. And if you're comparing yourself to other artists, then that's probably a healthy thing, that you're trying to strive to do better and improve your styles and techniques. But the second you start thinking you don't need to do better is when you really need to do a reality check, because at that point you're likely to stop improving or trying new things. And trying new things is obviously what's going to help your growth. Now, I've been drawing for 15 years, I guess since I was 12 or 13 years old. So I've had a lot of time to grow and just keep striving for the next best thing I could do to improve my work. You just need to remind yourself that this is a super slow process. It has taken so much time for me. So some people it could take years, some people it could take a decade, some people it could take months to find something they like to do. It's just whatever comes naturally to you, and if you figure it out right away, then you're hella lucky. But if that's not the case for you, definitely give yourself some grace, because it takes time, such as any craft does. Even for a woodworker or something along those lines, they're not all of a sudden really good at building sculptures or carving. There's many different little things that go into your work that make it difficult and make it better as time goes on and as you've practiced more. But just keep in mind, there are going to be a lot of frustrating moments that happen throughout your journey, and don't let those little moments tear you down, because if anything, those hardships teach you a lesson and you can learn things from those. So if you're having one of those moments where you want to dramatically swipe the paper and the pencils off the table and scream at the ceiling and just have a little freak out, just know that that's completely normal, but that's your chance to step away from the work, drink a coffee or have a snack, anything like that will kind of reset you, and then you could always come back to it later, whether that be in 20 minutes or 20 days. Because if you're not frustrated with your work anymore, or at the point where you could care less about what you're drawing, then that probably means you shouldn't be tattooing anymore. And that's just a harsh reality of being in the industry. Making mistakes is how you learn, and with making mistakes comes frustration. So if you're not frustrated anymore, then you're probably at the point where you're, 1, either good at what you're drawing, or 2, you think you're too good at drawing, which is 2 very different things. So I think I've gotten to the point where I've got all the main tips or steps out of the way. These are kind of the basics to what you need to know. So I figured I'll just let you watch the video, watch all these little details, because this is definitely the most satisfying part of the video, at least in my eyes. You guys can tell me otherwise in the comments, but I hope you've enjoyed taking a peek at what I'm doing, even though it might be a little weird. But either way, my videos are definitely meant to be a little more educational than entertaining, I guess. We'll see. Like I said, it's all up to you guys. Tell me what you want. What do you want to see from me? Because I have no clue what to do. I know I have a few more videos pre-recorded and I just need to cut and paste and edit and blah, 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 blah. There's so much that goes into editing that it's actually quite a big job and it takes a long time. But yeah, tell me what you guys want to see next and we'll kind of go from there.